Good afternoon, and thank you for joining. This is just another impromptu training session from Sean of Care Dynamics. What I'm going to be showing you briefly today is how I go about creating my client sourcing list when it comes to healthcare staffing in particular. A lot of you have identified your staffing niche as being in healthcare. So I'm going to show you how, if I, being that I'm in the state of Florida, were sourcing for particularly contract placement, PRN, temporary placement candidates for my staffing agency, how I would go about building a business development list, a list in which I'm going to perform outreach, whether I'm going to email higher ups, whether I'm going to send out direct mail campaigns to them, whether I'm going to go physically into a particular client's site and try to obtain a meeting or meet with some of the hiring managers directly on site. This is how I would go about approaching and making my client, my prospective client list for the week. This is my target list. This is me doing this live. So right now I'm on the Florida Department of Health's website. There are two sites that you're going to utilize to find. In my case, I do pharmacy staffing. So I'm going to use the Department of Health website to find pharmacies to target. And I'm going to use ACA. Let me pull them up. ACA is another website that I'm going to use to find hospital. All right. So in your respective counties and states, you're going to find the equivalent of these type agencies. So in your state, who licenses the hospitals? In your state, who licenses the healthcare facilities that you want to be your clients? In your state, who licenses the pharmacies if you want to do pharmaceutical staffing? So from here, we're just on the Florida Department of Health main page. I am going to actually look for the licensing page. So let's see. Looking for licensing. And it's the healthcare licensing. So let me just go and Google that from another screen. Florida Department of Health licensing. You can use the license lookup. Look up a healthcare license. And the particular part for the state of Florida here, instead of doing like a license verification, if you were to look up my license as a pharmacist, you could look it up here. I am looking for newly licensed healthcare practitioners and facilities. Now, the key here is I'm going to look back. I'm going to change the year because I would like to go back 20 years. The reason why I want to do it that way is that a lot of these facilities, these practitioners, these pharmacies, they've been open so many years. So I want to go back. Let's just go back as far as I can. Let's go back as far as I've been on this earth. And I want to pull up all the facilities for the sake of this training. Now, since this is how I already work this particular business development exercise, I do not have to go back this far. I could just go and look up all the new facilities. So I would put in a date that's closer to today, or I would put in the last month. You have to play around with your dates. The license to date is, of course, going to be today because today is today. There hasn't been a tomorrow yet. So nobody's licensed as of tomorrow. The particular board that I'm looking for pharmacy is the Board of Pharmacy. But here you can look up the different types. If you want to target dental practices, you look up the Board of Dentistry. If you're looking for perhaps physician providers for your locums tenens positions. You could look up the Board of Medicine and look and see what new practitioners are out there, what new doctors are out there that might be looking for positions. If I were looking for new grad pharmacists, I could also go to the Board of Pharmacy and look up the new grads that just graduated and just got licensed as pharmacists if I want to hire them for my business. So I'm going to go onto the Board of Pharmacy and I'm going to select pharmacy. If I were looking for pharmacists, I would select one of these, but I'm looking for pharmacies that I can send my marketing materials out to and try to get more contracts for my PRN pharmacy staffing division. These are all the counties in Florida. So I'm going to choose the counties that I am interested in staffing for. So in that case, for me, it would be Alachua County, Brevard. It would also be Flagler County. It would be Hillsborough County, of course, Indian River, Lake County, Leon County. Like, I'm trying to do all of Florida and beyond Florida. So let's just pick, for the sake of this exercise, let's try Pinellas County, and we're gonna hit search. All right, so if you go all the way down to the bottom, it tells us that we have 526 entries. So there are 526 pharmacies that have been licensed in the terms that I have selected. So you see how I went all the way back to 1983 because I wanted to capture as many of them as I could. I could narrow that down to the new pharmacies that are coming into play, especially the independent pharmacies. Now, one thing I want to make note of with the pharmacies, I'm not necessarily targeting Walgreens. I'm not targeting CVS. I target independently owned pharmacies, not the chain pharmacies. So just by name alone, I know how to identify which pharmacies that I would be looking for. So some of these, obviously, I've already marketed to. Some of these I already have as clients, actually. So I'm just looking on here to see, are there any pharmacies that I think could utilize Care Dynamics' services? So I would be looking here. What I'm actually going to go back and do, since I told you that I'm going all the way back to 1983, simply because I want to make sure that I'm capturing all the pharmacies that are open. They have clear and active current licenses, and this is the license date when they originally got licensed. So I see several places that I may want to target, particularly on this page. So there's this cool feature on this particular website and on most sites where you can export this to an Excel spreadsheet. Let's open that up and see what it looks like. What I don't like about this is that it does not capture all of my results, all 500 and something of my results. It just captures, oh no, I'm lying. It captures all of it. Awesome. Okay. So you want to go ahead and create, if you can, an Excel spreadsheet of this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to save it in my downloads. And then I'm going to just start to manipulate it based off of the settings and things that I just don't want to capture. I know I don't want to deal with CVS. I know I want licenses that are clear and active. I don't care about licenses that are obviously null and void. So what you want to be doing is using your filters, okay? Turn your filters on and selecting certain things. So I want licenses that are clear. I want to exclude, if I can, any CVS pharmacies, like any of the chain type drug stores. Let's see if I can do it that way. Let's see. I want to take out all these CVS. I want to take out Walgreens, Publix. Like I'm not looking for places who probably have their own significant amount of PRN pharmacists that are on staff for them. So I'm going to remove all of these because I don't want to capture them in my results. And for you, wherever you are, this is how you're going to go about doing this. You got to figure out your way of doing this in your state and in your region. So if you're doing trucking as your niche, you would go on to the FMCSA website and you would perhaps pull down the reports that show all the trucking companies that are licensed and the newly opened trucking authorities. So find out any type of authoritative board, licensing board for the niche that you're working in. If it's if you're in legal, probably want to look at some bar exam reports and whoever licenses lawyers and law practices. So you want to be engineering, whatever accreditation boards that are part of the engineering profession. You want to be looking on these licensing websites to find, I'm going to take out Walgreens and Walmart. And if I find out later that those places work with agencies, cool, no problem. I know that Winn-Dixie supermarkets, they do use agency. I used to staff Winn-Dixie's back in the day. So it's not that I will not work with them. It's just that they're not who I'm targeting right now. My focus right now is on your independent mom and pop pharmacies, your hospice facilities, your smaller pharmacy facilities that might just need have a pharmacist that needs a day off. Baycare, I have done some work inside of some Baycares. They actually go through another PBM that I'm familiar with as a client. So I don't want to target them right now, but we can toggle back to some of these later. So I'm going to hit OK. So now my results are reduced down to, I still got 400 and something results here. So I'm going to evaluate, is there anything else that I want to avoid? And keep in mind, this is just Pinellas County. This is one county that I have approximately 500 and something potential clients that I have their address. I can send out a mailer. Let me show you what I mean by sending out a mailer. So let's just go on to my Canva. These are mailers that I made on Canva. A lot of my stuff I produce on Canva. So when I say sending out a mailer, this is an example of direct mail ideas. You can get these printed out at your local Kinko's or FedEx store. I actually ordered mine directly from off of Canva. It sent the order to the FedEx store and I was able to pick them up the next day. So this is the front of my flyer and this is the back of my flyer. So I can do one of two things. I can just send this flyer off. I have here, hold on. I have the addresses to these pharmacies. I can attention it to the pharmacy director or the pharmacy manager, and I can just send all of my mailers off. Another thing that I recommend that you do, go to Uline. Hopefully you guys have business credit. Get you some marketing tubes off of Uline. These right here or these right here, these clear marketing tubes. Because what you can do with these, you can get these without that little clip at the top. You want the plain flat ones, not the hanging ones. What you can do inside of this is put your mailer inside of there, get some pens, get yourself some marketing, some tools with your business logo, your business name, your business contact information. Create whatever marketing materials you want, whether that be pens, notebooks, refrigerator magnets, hand sanitizer, whatever you can put your logo and contact information on, put that stuff into a clear tube and send it out to these pharmacies, to send it out to your prospective clients. So that's what I do. Not only do I identify pharmacies that I want to mail information off to about my company, I also identify places that I want to physically walk into and try to get a meeting. Here's another tip. Let's just say I want to work with Senior Health of Concordia. So I'm going to do my research on them. This is all a part of your business development. First place I'm going to go is LinkedIn, well, maybe second place. Pull up my LinkedIn, and I'm going to put in Senior Health Concordia. See what it pulls up. See who it pulls up. All right. So this is letting me know who potentially works for this company. I'm also checking to see whether or not this company has its own LinkedIn page. Page has 0 followers. So I'm looking at different things about this company. I can also come up Concordia and do just a regular old basic Google search. So I can find out more information about who do I contact if I want to do business with them. Because I may not want to send them any information. I may just want to find somebody on LinkedIn that works for them and shoot them a message. And those messages, as you can see, are inside of the Google Drive. And I have a whole bunch of email templates that you can utilize. So there's a whole lot of ways that I can market. I can find some email addresses for these places, and I can start an email sequence campaign through MailChimp or whatever constant contact, whatever email service that you use. So what you're doing is finding places that you want to work with and figuring out ways to communicate with them. Let's see. One thing that I like to look for, and I just picked up a facility, is like your hospice facilities. Hospice facilities tend to have a limited formulary, like you're doing a limited amount of drugs because it's a hospice facility. So you're not doing sometimes all of a person's maintenance medication. A lot of times you're doing end of life care, a palliative care. So there's a restricted formulary of certain things that person is going to be needing for end of life care. So they have pharmacies that are dedicated to that. So here's one, the Hospice of the Florida. So these are good independent small pharmacies to potentially market to, because typically they have maybe 1 or 2 pharmacists working for them. And those pharmacists have to go on vacation, can't work every day of their lives for 52 weeks straight. Some do, but some need help. So I can come in here and do a Google search and try to find information on who I can contact there. And I can also throw them again into LinkedIn. And several things come up. And what I'm looking for is a few different things. Looking for any social media presence that they have. I'm checking for people to see, boom, right up top. I have a 2nd degree connection with the executive director of pharmacy for infusion services and Empath Health. These are the people you want to reach out to, is the directors of pharmacy and the pharmacy managers. So you're looking here to see, are there any people that I can just message on LinkedIn directly? Or there are scraping tools that you can get that will, or even Sales Navigator. If you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can, it's trying to get me to renew my Sales Navigator subscription. But if you have Sales Navigator, sometimes Sales Navigator will give you email addresses. So again, this is just a basic business development exercise, because every week I like to map out who I would like to talk to. I make a wish list every week of people that I want to engage with. Do I always get in contact with these people? No, but you want to be making a list every weekend, if you can, of at least 200. That's modest. 200 contacts that you want to make. You're not going to make all 200 contacts Monday morning, but over the course of a 5-day work week, or however you organize your work week, if you already have a list of people that you want to do outreach to, it becomes a fun game to see how many of those people that you can check off of that list. The longer the list, the better. It's more work to do. Okay. If you want to set your goal of just 5 outreach attempts a day, set whatever works for your business. But you need to be planning your business development ahead of time. This is not something I would not wake up tomorrow morning and be doing this part, because I haven't made a good use of my time. Monday morning, I need to already have this list of people identified, so that the first thing I do in the morning is I pull my list up on Excel and I hit the ground running. So what I would do here is, once I identify who I want to work with, I would perhaps come in here and highlight this entire thing. Just letting myself know this is who I plan to talk to. On top of that, I would come into my spreadsheet and make a whole other column that says point of contact, POC. I would put in there who I'm contacting and where or how I'm contacting them. So if I'm going to contact somebody on LinkedIn, I'm going to put in LinkedIn, or I'm going to put a direct link to who they are and how I want to come back and contact them. Like, who is my point of contact? Where am I going to be reaching out to them at, or how am I going to be reaching out to them? If I want to do a mailer, just put some details on what you want to do to have that initial outreach with this person. What is your goal? Is your goal to send them a direct mailer? Is your goal to email them? Is your goal to set up an in-person meeting with them? Phone call. You want to just reach out to them on LinkedIn. These are some things, some notes that you just want to keep in context for you, for yourself, and for your team. If you have sourcers and recruiters that are working on this type of business development for you, this is just one way to approach it. So again, this is just for my PRN, contract pharmacist, pharmacy staffing, temporary pharmacy staffing line of business. That's it. This is not for my direct placements, even though sometimes the lines will be blurred on how I go about that. This is how I go about finding my pharmacies to do temporary staffing services with, okay? So you identify your methods, but my goal for this video is to just show you one method, and now you take it a step further and you figure out the method that works for you. I also wanted to show you guys ACA. ACA in Florida is who licenses all of our hospitals. So if I wanted to find a hospital, particular hospital facility to work with, I would come on to ACA's website, hit find a facility. I would search by proximity, but you can also search by facility type and location. So if I want to do Pinellas County, for example, so I'm in the state of Florida, Palm Harbor, and then I would put to 100 miles. That gives me a radius to look at. And I would hit search. Oh, I would also select what type of facility. You can leave it on all facilities. If I want to do hospital, just hit hospital. So it's going to pull up all the hospitals within 100 miles of Palm Harbor. All right, plenty right here. So now it gives me all the hospitals. Now I'll make note of the fact that Advent Health is one of the hugest hospital systems that we have in Central Florida. So I might not necessarily want to attack them right now. I might want to go with some of the smaller hospitals that I know for a fact probably have some staffing issues. So I would look at Central Florida Behavioral Hospital. Caught my eye immediately because I already have a client in the behavioral health space. All right. So if I'm looking for hospitals here, I would perhaps be trying to find who works for them and what type of personnel do they have. So do they want registered nurses, licensed practical nurses? Do they need pharmacists? Like what type of staffing issues do they have? So you should never be without potential clients to work with. Here's another option to export to Excel. So I would just export this to Excel, open it up. And now it gives me all of this information to work with, addresses. This one even gives contact people. It gives you the administrative or the CEO. Sometimes, you guys, you benefit from going directly to the highest people in a company, because sometimes the people that are lower in the totem pole in these different companies, they like to play gatekeeper and prevent you from getting to key decision makers. So where you can, don't be ashamed to go on LinkedIn and find these CEOs. Some of them will connect with you faster than the office manager, faster than the people in the lower positions. I don't know why that is. Sometimes the people in the lower positions have a chip on their shoulders that the actual CEOs do not have. All right. So there are different things that I want to look for when I'm looking for hospitals. For example, do you want to go for the non-for-profit hospitals or the for-profit hospitals? The pockets on both of them are different. So you have to approach that how you want to approach it. So if you're in nurse staffing, you want to find the ACA equivalent for your state and find all these hospitals. Find the addresses to these hospitals. These are the mailing addresses. Okay, sometimes these mailing addresses might not get you anywhere, and sometimes they will. So you just have to take a chance and see what's the right department and who you should be contacting. I recognize an address here as a hospital I used to work for, Bayfront. All right, so Bayfront is under the Orlando Health modality here in Orlando. So I'm always looking for potential clients. You're always sourcing. And as you can see, there are a lot of options here. So you should never be reaching out saying, well, I'm at my wit's end. I don't have my first client. I guarantee you haven't contacted everybody yet. So you have to keep doing this. You may go weeks and months of doing this and not get any hits. And then by some stroke of luck, you end up with a client off of a LinkedIn. Somebody writes you back. Somebody calls you up based off your direct mail. You just have to constantly be sourcing. And if there's a way that you can think of doing this, utilizing some type of virtual assistant or automating this in some way, go ahead and do that. But this is the gritty way of going and sourcing for healthcare staffing clients. This is one of the ways to do it. This is the this is a very grassroots way of doing it, but it is a way. And particularly in the pharmacy space, it's a very effective way, I will find. So this is all that I have for you today. If you have any questions about this, feel free to email me and reach out. A lot of the materials and tools that you need as far as what to send in your emails, what to say in your LinkedIn messages, all of that information is on the Google Drive inside of the sales tactics and business development folder. So if you have access to that, go over there and run and grab some of those materials so you can start making your outreach attempts. Keep in mind that I will be adding to that folder and the other folders over time. I have several other email templates that I would like to add. So always be looking inside of the Google Drive. And if you do not have access to the Google Drive, I recommend that you go ahead and purchase the Staffing Success Bundle, because access to the Google Drive comes with the Staffing Success Bundle, among other things. So the access to the Google Drive is no longer free. It is the cost of the Staffing Success Bundle, or if you book a one-on-one, I will give you access once you complete your one-on-one. So again, this is Sean from Care Dynamics, just coming to you today with a brief business development training session. I hope that it's helpful. Go ahead and email me your questions if you have any about how to do this. Take care and have a great rest of your day.